Okay, so today's guests, we have Charlie and Tom. Thank you guys for coming in.
Pleasure.
You guys run a little company called Charlie Koalas?
Charlie Koala Advocacies.
Okay, so what does Charlie Koalas do?
Well, what we're trying to do, and we're in the throes of getting it together now, is to raise funds, to set up ideas of our own where we can raise funds that we can in some way help our return service people and our current service people with mental health issues. Mm-hmm. In a very small way, nothing extravagant. Maybe short electricity bills, maybe a holiday with the family, maybe there's a shortfall in some sort of fund they're getting, but there's a bit of a shortfall and we can make that up.
Okay, great. So you're just trying to help out veterans where they need the help. Exactly.
But we want to see that whatever we do, and how small or how large of amount we were able to contribute, we want to see that it goes directly to the source and doesn't get broken down in other areas, whereby if we raise $1, we want to see 98 cents goes to the recipient.
So no Ferraris for you guys?
No, absolutely not. No, we're beyond that.
So where did the idea for this come from?
Well, basically, both of us. We were two things. What we're doing is we're creating handwritten Aussie slang prints, and what we're doing is we're putting them in a frame and we're selling them as a framed Aussie slang print. Charlie has got all the manufacturing capabilities. I've got hopefully the ideas to sell them. It came from both of us looking at nobody knew in our family Aussie slang. Mm-hmm. It came from that, going back to an Anzac March where I met some young black hats from Afghanistan who were talking about the mental health. One of them had just had one of his mates in Queensland commit suicide. This, on top of the slang, over a couple of beers, just come up with an idea. Why don't we, if we can, could we perhaps do this, this and this, and end up with some money to maybe help in a small way. Mm-hmm. That's how it came. And Charlie and I sat down over a beer and discussed it, and it took us about 3 or 4 months to come up with a concept. And then Charlie worked on pretty hard on the frames for a while. Everybody has been really, really good in supplying products to us. We went to
the printer.
Yeah, the printer. And what's the big crowd? The demolition crowd?
Oh, Brankovich.
Oh, Brankovich is out in West Swan. We went out and said what we were doing, and it was so lovely. And she said, yeah, go and have a look at if there's something Charlie felt he could do, he could work with. So we went around, and we only wanted to spend about $50 because it was mainly for Charlie to see if he could, in actual fact, create a reasonably priced frame that we could work with. And so we picked up the timber Charlie wanted, we put it in the truck, we brought it back, we went into the office, come out and showed her, and we were hoping it was not going to be more than $50. And she just looked at it and said, okay, and walked away. And I said, well, hang on, how much? And she said, oh, no, that's on me.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She she was really, really good. Really, really good.
Of course, the other thing that I didn't go to Vietnam. Mm-hmm. I'm of the Vietnam era, and I've done my 20 years. But in that time, I probably lost 10 to suicide. Mm-hmm. Countless to drug and booze. Yeah. And until you live with that and see it happening, you really can't comprehend it. And it's really sad, you know. Veteran affairs are great with mental health today. Mm-hmm. Back then they weren't. Today an ex-digger or an ex-Air Force man can ring and get counselling without any questions being asked. Yeah. And that's really important. But there's a bit of pride comes into it as well. A lot of these diggers are too proud to ask, and then they take their lives. So we're both sort of passionate about that. I mean, Tom's dad served in New Guinea, and you know, he had mental health issues when he came back, and again, too proud to take. So we just think that we can go to other organisations. We're going to look at the RSLs, the sub-branches, go there and say, well, here, can we leave these here? And hopefully that will generate its own income. Yeah. So instead of us going out to sell, we're just replacing stuff at the RSLs. We've yet to approach the RSL. But this RSL, the main W8, has been great, you know.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's been really
I'd be
good.
really disappointed if we weren't.
No.
Well, this is where we're basically got to the point now where we want to market them. Yeah. You know, it's taken us this long to get here. both of us. But now we want to sort of start to move on. And as Charlie said, one of the ideas we come up with perhaps we've done a couple of markets to try it out, and it's worked very well, very, very well. We've done excellent, but they're very spasmodic.
Yep.
You know, what we're thinking of is we need maybe half a dozen different scenarios where we've got them, so that A, they're selling themselves, B, we can sell them, A, somebody else is selling them for us, or whatever. We don't really know yet.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that we can put on consignment one or two in the RSL sub branches, whereby they will hopefully sell by themselves, and we'll just replace them. That's whether they'll pick that up or not. We don't know. We haven't started yet, but we'll kick it off with a couple of RSL clubs, and we'll approach them this week and see how we go from that.
I think some of the sub branches would be pretty keen. I mean, they sound like really awesome little pieces of artwork that would really resonate. And then of course the stories behind it, that whatever profit you're using to help young soldiers and
also too some of these sub branches, the option is that some of these sub branches have got their own advocacies too, obviously. So we're they're selling them for us, we're creating. If they've got someone, then they can come to us too. So it's a round robin scenario, you know. So we're hoping that will work, and that's one. But we've got other ideas. This is not the only thing we're going to
I'll give you an example. You know, I've got my defence medals, lots of different army certificates. Been in the cupboard for 30 years. Now they're all framed, and that's another avenue, because there'll be so many people with service, you know, A4 type size. So that we're targeting A4, but we can make any size. You know, just those little shadow boxes for your service medals. I mean, they're like $70 if you go and buy them commercially. I knocked one out that I could happily sell for $25 and still make some money for the charity. So there's a lot of different avenues we're looking at.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the whole concept as well of diggers helping diggers. So, you know, you guys are both veterans and you're creating these items to service a need for the veterans and help veterans. I think that'd be something that'd be quite popular with RSL members.
Well, we hope so.
It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
So, obviously the Australian slang, so you're both passionate about Australian slang. Do you have like a favourite saying?
We have many. We found that everyone's got their own private one. So basically what we found out with going to the markets is that we put what we feel, but we give people the opportunity that they can have frame whatever they want. If they've got a private or a special one, that's easy. We can do that in 24 hours for them. If they don't like something we've got.
Yep. You little beauty. Yeah, that's always a fun one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realise how much Australian slang I actually used until I moved to the States for 6 months.
Yeah.
And nobody understood what I was saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's right. And I picked it up specifically because I've always been very passionate about it. But I happen to my grandchildren are multicultural, so their father is teaching him his language and everything, which is great. And then I happened to mention something one day, and my grandson said to me, "What does that mean?" And I said, "That's our language." He said, "What are you talking about? We haven't got a language." I said, "Yes, we have." And of course, it rolled on from then. And now he's quite keen. He pumps about quite often.
And it's surprising the amount of kids at the market.
Yeah.
They'll come up and they'll look, and they wouldn't have a clue. And what was that one that young lass said? Remember the first game market we done?
I was thinking about it a minute ago. It's gone. Yeah.
This little 10 or 12-year-old girl comes up and says, "Oh, I love that." And I thought, well, that's a great response.
Yeah.
And they are a great response. When at the first market, that young couple that came in.
Yeah.
The very first market, we didn't expect to sell anything. It was just, let us go and see if there's any interest. And this very young couple, mid-20s, come in. They're looking, and they're saying, "What's all this about?" Tom started telling them what we're doing. These kids bought 5 frames.
Nice.
Different
straight
ones.
away. Yeah, it was great. You know,
yeah. But really, he picked the ones he liked too. He said, "Oh, I remember that, and I remember this, and my dad used to say that."
It surprised me to hear that a lot of people don't use that slang anymore. I thought that would just be
No, you'd be surprised. And the young ones coming through, like my grandson's 12. From there down, it's just non-existent. They don't understand it at all.
Wow. I mean, I grew up obviously with the Australian slang, but the military slang as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Because both my parents served, so I didn't really have much regular.
I actually listened to your podcast about that. Yeah, that was good to listen to. Yeah, that's another thing, you know. Yeah, the actual, you know, how do you have your coffee? Standard NATO.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much that is, and you can pick it when you're in conversation. Mm-hmm. I'll be talking to an absolute stranger and they'll say something, and I'll say, "Who do you serve with?"
Yeah.
Because they've said something that is unique. You know, standard NATO or you know.
One that always stands out for me is I didn't know that the toilet was called the dunny or the loo or the toilet. Yeah. I always called it the heads.
The heads,
so when I started school, I'm like, I need to go to the heads. The teachers had no idea what it was.
That's Navy. That's Navy.
Yeah, that's right.
You can pick it straight away.
Yeah. Well, the dunny is, we've sold quite a few dunnies. There's half a dozen dunny ones being sold. And the other one was, she'll be all right, mate. She'll be right, mate.
She'll be right. That's a good one.
Yeah, she'll be right, mate. Yeah. That's another one's gone off pretty well.
I feel like we all just need to sit down and watch old episodes of Skippy the Bush Kangaroo.
You know the one that I tried to get, strange as it may seem, when we started this off, and my grandson mentioned this, I tried everywhere to get We're a Weird Mob. Remember the old... Oh, you wouldn't remember that.
Too young, yeah.
The Weird Mob. You remember that?
Mob, yeah.
And I could not get it anywhere, but I've got someone in Sydney now trying to get hold of a copy for me. That was about Italian migrants when they first came. Of course, I was brought up in Fremantle, and we lived with Italian, Portuguese, Slavs, all locals down there, you know. And a lot of those actually served and marched and went to... And done a lot with the. My father was in the Wyola Club in Fremantle, well, most of his life after he came back, and we used to have an Anzac Day there, but of course it was not for girls; it was only men, and all the sons went, and they used to invite all the Slavs and Portuguese and Italians to the luncheons, you know. And that was a marvellous movie. And there's so much in that you'd laugh. I mean, if you saw it now, you'd laugh your head off. And it wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
It was
time. Yeah, look it up. They're a weird mob.
Alright, interesting. That sounds like fun. You gotta love old Australian movies though. I mean, I grew up on Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, well that's modern for me.
It's quite modern slang, that one. Probably not a lot of slang that a teenage girl should be using. But Charlie, you're from Scotland. So you had to learn Australian slang over your Scottish slang. Yeah,
and for years people couldn't understand me because my accent was so broad. I mean, I came to Australia in 1968. I've been here 50 years. I've still got the accent. I was 15 when I came here. Joined the army at 18. And it was only after I'd been here about 10 years, because you're always homesick, you know, for your youth. But that's when I really embraced Australia. And I started learning. I'd done a lot of Australian history. Learned a lot of Australian history, and the language is what I love. I mean, she'll be right, man.
Yeah.
Nothing expresses Australia more than that saying, she'll be right, man. Because that's how Aussies are. They get a can-do attitude, and I think it's probably unique to any other culture in the world. True blue. Tie it up with a wire just to get the show on the road. I've lived that.
Yep.
I've been in the bush and made do with what we've had. There's no other country in the world that does that. Yeah, and we really are. We're a unique culture. Yeah.
Oh, there's some amazing sayings out there. I think one of my favourite ones is "Have a good one."
Yeah, have a good one.
To say anyone else in the world, they're like, "Have a good what?" What am I having a good? Just have a good one.
It's like Australians. I mean.
That's a good
one. If you say to someone...
I must remember that. Remember that. That's got to be good.
If you say to someone, I'm going to Wagga,
you
know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to say Wagga Wagga, but you can't say I'm going to Woi. You have to say Woi. And this is the quirky part about Australia. People just understand.
Yeah.
And having been in the army for 20 years and travelled all around Australia, Queensland's got a total language of its own.
Yeah, they do. I think another great one is Australians tend to ask questions that don't need answers.
Yeah.
Like, how's the weather?
Yeah.
Doesn't need an answer.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how's the weather, mate?
Yeah.
And no one else in the world understands it.
Yeah.
I remember I went to America as a kid on a ship, and I was working, and I got off the first place I got off was in Seattle, and off in America as a 16-year-old kid. This is fantastic, I didn't know where to. So first place I went was for a beer, because I could have a beer there, and with 3 or 4 of the boys on the ship, and the Norwegian guy that actually got me the job was a friend of my father's, and the barman said to Lynn, well, where's he from? And he said, oh, Australia. Oh, he speaks very good English. I nearly fell off my chair.
I actually had that in the States. I attended school there for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And I walked into this classroom, and the teacher was like, oh, where are you from? I said, I'm from Australia. She goes, oh, that's great. I'm learning German. Do you think we could practice together? Wrong country.
Wrong country.
Yeah.
Wrong
Austria,
language.
Yeah, Austria. They think it's the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great language, and so you guys are immortalising that in these parks.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We needed something to focus on to start this off, and the idea being, as we sat around speaking, the slang bit, Charlie can make the frames. That's a start.
Yep.
That's something that binds the 2 ideas together to produce something that perhaps will have a cash flow that we can help people with. That's where it come from, and that's how it all started. So
how else do you help people?
Well, basically, this is the first thing we've done. We've got a couple of other ideas. We're looking at putting together a caravan doing sausage sizzles, of all things. But not just a plain old Bunnings sausage sizzle. We want to. A bit of my background has been catering, so we're going to do a gourmet sausage sizzle, right? But it's going to be really Aussie one. It's going to be good value. We're hoping that will be another source of revenue. And then we're open to suggestions should anyone come up with any more. We want to do something. We want to keep active. We know this particular operation with the slang and the frames is not going to be a terribly heavy revenue gatherer. So what we want to do is maybe have 3 or 4 little things that we're doing all come into one, which gives us a reasonable amount of money that we can help as many people as we can in our own way. But we're trying to keep it on a personal basis too, whereby we're face to face with the people that we're actually helping. We want to be able to say to them, look, there's no hassles. You need it. Here it is.
Yep.
I think
you've got to have that with it.
Tom come up with the idea. It was originally Charlie Koala's advocates that would have tied us down to one avenue. We both got other passions, so although we're predominantly working for service people, if, for example, we have a women's refuge just round the corner from us, if we feel we can help, we'll do that as well. So it's not just about keeping it in service, it's about helping where it's needed.
Yeah, in the community, if we could help. So if there's an overflow, if there's a bit, and somebody comes to us from some other scenario, then we're quite happy to kick in and do that too.
Yeah, wonderful.
It was operational for service people with mental health. That's where it all started. We're hoping that it's going to have enough to do all that, plus maybe overflow into some other areas if it's necessary. Yeah. This is our long-term plan. But we're now starting to, after a long time trying to get it all together and get it in our head what we want. It's all pretty clear now to both of us what we want to do.
It's crystal clear now.
And now we just kind of want to move ahead now, get as much information as we can for us to be able to do this, and get as much help from outside as we can, where people can actually put us in contact with people that need help. Yep. I mean, that's the next thing we need. We can do what we do, and we can raise some money, but when we've got the money, where do we go with it? Where do we go with it? Who do we help?
Yeah.
So that's our next step, to try and find out where we can look at being able to help and getting people to come to us.
And that's what we're thinking RSL, because RSL's got its own brand of charity.
Yeah.
And perhaps we could sort of go into that. But that's very important to us, that they come to us. We're not just going to give whatever returns we get from this. We're not just going to give it to someone to be dispersed. What we want to do is for them to come to us and say, Joe Blow, Jack Frost, he's $200 short on his rent this week, and we can't help him for a fortnight. Then we can come in and help.
Yeah.
Bill needs a break badly. He and his family, they need a little holiday somewhere. We can then kick in and send them down to Mandurah for a week or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, in that area. That's not specific, but that's just what we're trying to achieve.
Wonderful. So basically, you guys have just got massive hearts and a lot of time on your hands.
A lot of time in our hands.
Yeah, right. Certainly got that. Yeah.
No, that's all wonderful. It sounds like you guys you have a plan, you have a goal, you know where you want to go. I love the signs. I think they're beautiful.
And we want to enjoy it too.
Yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're hoping out of this podcast, actually, someone will contact us and say, hey, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? Because we're open to ideas as
opening
well.
yourself up, guys.
No, that's what we want. You know, just the service certificates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, how many? I don't know.
Yeah, just sitting there in the drawers doing nothing.
Yeah.
And, you know, to go out, for someone that's on a pension, for instance, it's very difficult. If you've got a nice, we've looked into this, unless you want to go and buy something from IKEA for $4 that's going to fall to pieces in the next 10 days, and you've got a nice certificate that you want to have on the wall and it's always been stuck in the drawer, but you think, gee, I'd really like to have that out. Mm-hmm. You've got to spend up to $100. Yeah. You know? Well, we're talking of producing them for an A for $20. You know? I mean, if you don't, you can buy the slang in the frame and throw the slang away and still use the frame for your own, you know? That doesn't matter to us, because the money you receive is going to go into a good cause anyway, so that's irrelevant to us. But they're the sort of people we want to try and get the message to if we possibly can, you know?
I'm not sure how techie you guys are, but I think you should be on Instagram, because there's a big movement on there for like small business and for eco-friendly business and recyclables, and that sounds like what you guys are doing. You're taking wood and turning it into a frame.
Exactly.
It's all small business helping one another.
I'll talk to my daughter about it. My youngest daughter does Instagram. She's always telling me about it.
You should look into it. It's very effective.
Good. Well, that's good coming from you.
Because we've got our own Facebook page as well.
Yeah.
Being a bit vintage.
Yes, being big vintage.
We lack the technical skills to drive it.
Well, we're looking at also to having our own. We've looked at websites, and then we gave it away, and then we a couple of people said you should get on websites, and we looked at the costing of it, and it was very inhibitive to what we wanted to do. Minuteman Printing in Midland have been fantastic to us. They've given us. They're doing all our printing for us at next to nothing, you know. And I mean,
but even the glass supplier.
Oh, well, there you are. We looked everywhere when we first started, because, as I said in the beginning, there was no point in us going ahead with this unless we had all our facts and everything in place, because otherwise it'll just come crashing down behind us. And specifically, the most expensive thing we have is the glass, because there's no such thing as recycled glass. I saw quite a few wholesalers, and they came back, and Charlie and I sat down, and by the time we put it together with even just with the petrol to go out and get the free timber, it was inhibitive. Mm-hmm. So in the end I said to Charlie, look, we'll give it one more go. There's a little wholesaler, retailer and wholesaler down in Midland. So I went and seen them, explain what we were doing, and they I'm not going to name the price, but they cut the price and cut the price and cut the price, and that's one of the main reasons we've been able to retail these things for $20. You know, and they've been absolutely marvellous.
That is really great to hear, that you've had these businesses just so willing and happy to help you guys out.
Everyone we approached, every single one, and even some of the bigger ones thought they were really doing the right thing, and they were giving it to us at the best they could. But the guys in Midland basically said, look, we've got all the glass here. We use it for other things. you have to have this particular glass, but that's what you have for frames, and it'll be excellent for what you want. And what we will do, we will charge you a very small percentage to cut it, and then only what it costs us.
Fantastic.
And it's worked out really well. Really, really
I guess
well.
it just proves that a lot of people are seeing your vision.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to see that go through.
Yeah, they're helping. Yeah, especially those two. And no, everyone. I mean, everyone we approach, and we haven't approached many, mind you, but the ones we have been very receptive to what we want to do. And I think mainly too because we explain that I've got a handicapped daughter, okay? So she's actually in housing now with Autism Association. Now, all the people that advertise and get together to raise money for autism, it's amazing. They do a lot of their own, but it's amazing if you take one step away from that and you look at people that are societies that are trying to raise money in other areas. They will get a company to do their raising their funds for them.
Yes.
Okay, so you get all this infrastructure. I looked at one not so long back that my wife and I had been donating to for many years, and I asked the question when this was coming up, how much actually goes back to you when and she said, it's pretty good, really. And I said, okay, well, and she said, yes, we get 12 cents in the dollar. I thought, my God. And that's when Charlie and I sort of, well, this was one of the things that when we were thinking about it, that was one of the things that actually brought the operation, if you want to call it, into place about what we wanted and how we were going to do it. And we want, as I said, we want 98 cents in the dollar to go back. And hence, we've been approaching all these people to get as much as we can for nothing, because there's no cost in our labour. Okay, so if we get something for nothing and we create it, it's nothing. If we've got to pay for it, then it's got to go on the price of the product.
Yeah, fair enough.
But if you look at a timber frame for $20 and a print, a handwritten print for a sling, that's not bad value.
Oh, I mean, $20 for a timber frame that's handmade, that's pretty bloody good. I'd be pretty happy if I rocked up to the market and saw that. Yeah. Like I said, even if you didn't want the inside of it.
Just you've got the frame.
The frame would be well worth it on that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This is great, guys. I'm really glad that you took the time and came in and talked to me about this.
We're very glad you had us here to talk about it.
And I haven't sworn once.
No, me either.
I think I did.
We'll have a look at that.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for coming in.
Lovely.
Guys.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very, very much for having us. It was lovely.
This podcast was edited, published and produced by the RSLWA. Head to www.rslwa.org.au for other content. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook.